keep mine intact. Got your lady voice, now you can't get it back. All up on my wood tip like I'm smoking a black.
Whew. Today is Wednesday, the 31st, New Year's Eve. Tomorrow is a new year. Today was track day. I had intervals. I always try and come outside because doing intervals is just really freaking hard on a treadmill. So we had some intervals. It was pretty hard. I live in Ohio and it's about 30 degrees today with wind chill. I'm not sure if you can hear the wind, but wind chill makes it closer to 18. And for some people that might not be too bad. Maybe you like to run in the cold. I am not that person. My body does not react well in the cold. And so you might be wondering, you know, why am I wearing this? Heavy gloves, pants, sweatshirt. This is all out of comfort. This headband, face mask, that's out of necessity. For whatever reason, the last couple times I've ran in the cold, my nose, my sinuses do not react well. Last couple times I've ran, I've had mucus just pour out of my nose for about a day and a half, and that is not pleasant at all. That's why I'm wearing this. I'm hoping that helps with the problem, because if not, I'm gonna be stuck on the treadmill, which is not gonna be as enjoyable, but it is what it is. The other thing, with it being the last day of the year, I've essentially ran all I'm gonna run in 2025. Let's take a look at total mileage in 2025. Starting around in March, because that's kind of when I started using Strava and started tracking my runs, but that's when I started running. Going back to January 1st, 2025, again, starting in March. I don't know if you can see this very well. 826.2 miles, 2025. Woo, that's a lot. That's a lot. That's probably about 700, 800 more miles than I put in any year in the past. So, seeing that, 2026, calling it now. I want 1,500 miles. 1,500 miles, 2026. You heard it here. See what we got.
Tell them God. I hope it's not too much. My eyes open, so I had to pause to run. I think I saw too much. I can never sell my soul because it costs too much. I hope it's not too much. My eyes open, so I had to pause to run. I think I saw too much. I can never sell my soul because it costs too much. I hope it's not too much. My eyes open, so I had to pause to run. I think I saw too much. I can never sell my soul because it costs too much.
Week one is officially complete after today's long run. Week went pretty well. I'm feeling good after the 27.5-ish miles this week. I'm happy with how my body held up. Definitely some hard workouts in there. I think the two speed workouts were definitely the hardest. Today felt pretty good with the run. I kept it very slow, but the two speed workouts, the first one being outdoor on a track, running in circles is never easy. And as I said earlier, with the face covering, I think that does have an effect on my heart rate and my breathing. Obviously, you can't breathe as well if you've got something over your face and nose. The second workout I did on the treadmill, on the air runner at the CrossFit gym, that actually felt pretty good, but I do feel like I have to run faster on that thing to keep the appropriate pace. So I feel like a forget what exactly it was, a 7.5 minute pace is different on that thing versus outside. I feel like on their runner, I'm like sprinting to keep that same pace and speed versus outside, that's pretty manageable. In this video, I wanted to talk about the equipment I use to run. So the wearables, the applications I use to track my runs, everything. So that way, if you're just getting started on something like this, or if you're just getting into running, hopefully something I share helps. And I want to preface this by saying that I have a lot of unnecessary things. The only necessary thing you need to run, and arguably, is shoes. You need a good pair of shoes. The shoe I'm running in right now, and I've gone through several. I've had Hoka's, I've had Brooks. I have Brooks that I'll show you here in a second. There is a company though called Rad. They're a CrossFit brand, but they recently came out with a running shoe. I definitely was weary of this shoe and this brand because they're not a traditional running brand, but I gave them a try. And they are honestly my favorite out of all of the ones I've tried. Hoka, Brooks, Nike. These are my favorite shoes. These are the Rad UFOs. They have a lot of cushion, a ton of cushion, and that's probably one of the main reasons I like it. Very cushioned shoe, protecting my joints, my legs, making the runs feel better. And they have a wide toe box. A lot of shoes are doing this now, especially in the CrossFit space, but more and more running shoes are doing this too. They have a wide toe box, which means my feet, instead of being smushed into a tiny narrow shoe like Nike, you can expand your feet. That's better for your foot health and makes runs feel better. In my first training block for the Air Force Marathon last year, I immediately had blisters on the side of my toe because while the Hokas were pretty wide, I still had rubbing. I have no rubbing with these. My feet are comfortable and the cushion lets me go however far I want. It still feels pretty good. Now, I mentioned Brooks. Brooks is another shoe I like. I got these somewhat recently too. These are the Brooks Glycerin Max. I really like these shoes as well. I am running in these still too. I kind of just leave them downstairs so that I want to hop on the treadmill, I can throw these on and I'm good to go. But these are also very cushioned. I like cushioned shoes. They make my legs feel better. It's also a pretty wide shoe, so this is why I got them. They don't necessarily have a wide toe box. You can see it's pretty straight line throughout the whole shoe, but still wide shoe, feels good. I like these as well. Nothing really is necessary outside of shoes. But one thing I find very helpful, and a lot of runners find helpful, is knowing how far you're running. Knowing what kind of pace you're running at, what kind of distance. Garmin is by far the most popular. Just about every runner you talk to is wearing a Garmin. The other option, their Coros is another option. And then there's the Apple Watch. So that is what I use. I use an Apple Watch Ultra 2. This is kind of the more rugged version of the Apple Watch, made for outdoors people, runners. It has a longer battery life, very durable, waterproof, all that good stuff. I like the Apple Watch because I can have third-party apps. Garmin, everything's kind of built in for what you need for running. Apple Watch lets me do a little bit more. I can download other apps and kind of play around with it how I like. It also lets me, of course, return text messages and make phone calls, and paired with an iPhone is pretty nice at sometimes. I am still on the fence whether I'm team Apple Watch or team Garmin. There might very well be a time in the future where I have a Garmin, but that time is not right now. I like my Apple Watch. It works just fine for what I use. And so that's that. Moving into applications. I think the other very important thing, aside from, if you have an Apple Watch or Garmin, they need to be paired with a software or an application that gives you all the statistics. So the first application I will talk about, it's actually an iPhone app. I'm actually not sure if you can use this with a Garmin or not. I use it with my Apple Watch, of course, but it's an app called Athletic. And I will link all of these down below as well. So if you're curious on something I talk about or an app and you want to read more about it or purchase, it'll be in the description below, so feel free to take a look. But Athletic, Whoop kind of got started back years ago as kind of the first wearable that gave you a recovery score based on HRV and resting heart rate, amongst other things. There are now several apps and wearables that do this, a similar thing. Athletic is one that I found. Actually, a friend told me about it. But Athletic does the same thing. 5 main things it looks at. So HRV, resting heart rate, respiratory rate, SpO2, I'm not exactly sure, and then temperature. So all of those things it puts into an equation. I don't know what it does behind the scenes, but gives you a recovery score. So I know when I wake up, if I'm recovered and ready for a hard workout, lots of miles, or if I'm not recovered and might need to take it easy. So this helps me a lot because if I wake up on a Friday and I'm supposed to do intervals that might be very challenging, maybe I think twice if it's a lower recovery score. Maybe I just do an easy run that day and then do the workout miles another day. It gives me my sleep score so I know how well I slept, and that of course plays into my recovery as well. Another thing I've used it for is tracking calories. So it gives me a energy burned versus energy consumed if I'm connecting it to something like MyFitnessPal. So I can see if I'm trying to lose weight, I need to keep my energy burned above my energy consumed. Pretty easy equation there. My exertion, so I can see how I'm trending. If I'm doing really hard workouts on when I'm 100% recovered, I'm gonna be making progress. If I'm doing really hard workouts when I'm not recovered, I'm probably hurting my overall fitness, and Athletic gives me all that data. I can also see trends, whether it be workout trends or sleep trends, things like that, so I can really nail down what's going on with my body. So if you don't use something like that, Athletic is a good option, but there are several apps out there that do similar things. The next application I'll talk about is a big one because it is where I'm getting my plans from. I use Runna to create my running plans and essentially be my digital coach. I use Runna for a couple of different reasons. The coaching aspect. So I don't have to think about what workout I'm doing. I don't have to pay a coach, lots of money, and maybe I do that in the future. Coaches are very valuable. But digital coach is all I need for now. It's what most people need when they're running races like this or races just for fun. You can set your race date if you have one. If you don't have one, you can set kind of your goal or what you're working to. You can set your race date, so it'll create a plan, whether it be 12, 15, 18 weeks, and it'll give you workouts every step of the way. It's going to follow the same model I talked about in the last video with the easy run, workouts, long run, and you can set all sorts of different factors as far as how many days you want to run, how hard you want the workouts to be, what your goal pace is so that it can help meet you there, what your current paces are. Runna is really great for that purpose. The other reason I really like using Runna to actually track my workouts is because it gives me a little voice in my head telling me if I'm on pace or off pace. So I'm not having to constantly look at my watch. If I'm doing an interval workout, it'll tell me, hey, you're below the pace you need to be at, speed up. Or vice versa, if I'm going too fast, hey, slow down. But the alternative way to track all my runs and see all my running data is an app called Strava. And if you are a runner, or if you've done any running in the past, you probably know about Strava. Strava is another way to track runs. But more commonly, it's used as kind of a social media for runners. So it has integrations with all these other applications. So my runner workouts, and actually they're owned by the same company, my runner workouts flow right into Strava. And so that I can see all of those on kind of a news feed, share them out to anyone who's interested in following me. And I'll put my Strava link below. So if you want to follow me, feel free. But all my runs are in there. I can see other people's runs. So that gives me some encouragement. I can see what kind of paces they're running. I can see what kind of paces I'm running. I can see my progress over time. They have some race estimate times built into that. So you can see, okay, if I ran my last race at this time, here's what my prediction will be for the next one. There's all sorts of things Strava is good for. Okay, so got through the applications. That is all the software apps I use, with one exception I'll talk about here in just a second. But as far as the wearables and things that I rely on often, in no particular order, the next thing I use is a wearable. And while the Apple Watch does do a good job, I feel like, with my heart rate and giving me statistics, wrist heart rate trackers aren't always the most reliable. And so you'll see a lot of people wearing chest heart rate monitors because it is much more accurate than your wrist. I think they're pretty similar from what I've seen, but I do have a chest heart rate monitor. I use the Polar H10. So this comes with a band I strap around my chest. And so that way I'm getting accurate heart rate data from my runs. More useful actually on CrossFit, because CrossFit, my wrist monitor is not accurate because you're doing a lot of up and down movements and moving around a lot. On runs though, the wrist works pretty well. But if I want to kind of dial in or make sure they're similar, Polar H10, it's a great device. It's not very expensive and can pair with other devices. So you can use this on a Garmin, you can use this on an Apple Watch or whatever watch you use and get an accurate tracking there. One of my favorite things I've been using recently, and honestly, this is one of the most impactful things for me, because when I run out of breath quickly, as most newer runners do, but I feel like I don't breathe in my nose properly or as effectively as I should. And nasal breathing when running and in general when sleeping as well is very important. There's a lot of scientific research and reasons why breathing through your nose is important, and you should do it as much as possible. I won't give you all that data today, but feel free to look it up. But intake is a nasal band. Put a couple sticky things on the outside of your nose, and then they make these in black and clear. This goes on the outside of your nose and pulls the magnets outwards so that it opens up my nose and I can breathe so much better. And so when I'm running, it is a fantastic tool. When I first wore this, it was like night and day difference as far as how much I could breathe. Before, on my easy runs, I was trying to breathe in my nose, but it quickly turned into breathe in my nose, out my mouth, and then it was full on nose and mouth breathing, just trying to survive. This thing makes it possible to breathe in my nose for the whole run. On easy runs, when I get faster, it's harder to do that. But on easy runs, I can breathe in my nose the whole time with this thing. It is magic. I have nothing to do with this company. It's just a really good product. And there's several of these kind of companies out there. Intake was the first one I found. It works. I like the company. It works for me. This is a great tool to have. So highly recommend trying this if you have trouble breathing out in and out your nose. And maybe there's something medically that's wrong with me and I just don't know it. But for me, this product works super, super well. Another wearable I use, and this is kind of where it gets into the kind of nerdy, definitely not necessary item to have. After my first marathon, I mentioned that I had a lot of cramping, and it was because of lack of sodium, because the electrolytes I was drinking just did not have a ton of sodium, and so I was drinking a lot of all of the other electrolytes, but they weren't concentrated with a lot of sodium, and so that's kind of what led to the cramping, in my opinion. I had no way of proving that until after the marathon. I purchased a device called H-Drop. And what H-Drop is, and I can't find it right now, so I'll put a picture of it somewhere on here. There will be a link below. But H-Drop is kind of like, it's a device kind of like this. It goes on the outside of your arm, or you can put it on your chest strap if you have one of those. But it sits kind of right on my tricep, and it collects my sweat to analyze how much sodium, how much potassium, all of the electrolytes I'm using. It analyzes my sweat to track that. It tracks my sweat rate as well. So if it's a really hot day, it can tell me exactly how much sweat I've lost and how much I need to replace that lost fluid. So really cool device. Absolutely not necessary unless you're a complete nerd and have the extra money to spend. But I wanted it because I wanted to see exactly how much sodium I was using, and I wanted to use that data to know for my next race or my next run how much sodium I need to consume to where I can guarantee those cramps won't happen anymore. And again, I think it's a really cool device. I don't wear it all the time. I don't really wear it often, to be honest. But having the ability to do that a couple times at maybe different parts of the year, or especially when I get closer to the marathon and want to kind of build a nutrition plan, that device is going to be really helpful because I can see that data. I can make a plan based on what my actual sweat rate and makeup of that sweat is. So that was really eye-opening though, because I did that test on kind of a longer run, like hour and a half, and it was kind of crazy to see how much I was losing and know how much I needed to replenish what I lost. And so that's where this comes in. LMNT, a very high sodium electrolyte drink. I really like the sparkling version, and I drink this a lot of mornings when I'm doing a morning cardio and sauna session. But LMNT, this can has 1,000 milligrams of sodium. It's got 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium. No sugar, no caffeine. I think it tastes good, but it's definitely kind of an acquired taste, I would say, because it is very salty. You can taste that in this drink. So I really like LMNT in the cans, but of course they also have in packets. So I put this in my whatever I'm bringing on a run, or if I don't have anything, I just make sure to drink this after. But I will definitely be having a lot of this for my next marathon because I want to make sure I don't cramp. So LMNT, good product, tastes good. The other thing I've had recently, I don't have it on me right now, but Relight is another really good electrolyte drink. It is, I think, 900 milligrams of sodium. Don't quote me on that. It's either 900 or 800, so still a pretty high amount. But it's got some more of the other stuff too, and I think it tastes a lot better. They make it in tubs, so I can just scoop it, put it in my drink, and drink it throughout my day or on my run. Speaking of drinking on my run, I have a couple of different products. Nothing specific. I got the hydration vest first, so something that goes on my back, and it has a little, like, I don't even know what to call it. Something to put water in that has a little straw that kind of goes up, and then I can drink it easily while I'm running. I had that first and realized that on a longer run, I'm going to need more. And that thing is not very easy to refill. So what I've been doing recently, what my plan will be, is to fill that with water. And then I also have a belt. And this is what I prefer for more of my shorter long runs, I should say. The belt has 2 bottles. They're small, but I can fill those up very easily. So if I'm in my marathon, I can drink those. Maybe I fill them with LMNT. I drink those. I can fill them back up, and then also have my water on my back. So again, that's very, very extra. Absolutely do not need to do that. There were a lot of aid stations, water stations, so I think that it is possible to just stick with that and run with nothing, but it is also nice to have your own water source and own electrolyte source, so you know exactly what you're consuming and that it's going to work for you. I do listen to music when I run, so I have the Beats Studio Beats, and I also have the Buds. So those are not pictured here, but in the wintertime I've been wearing these more because I'll wear a hat or my face mask and I'll just put these over top. Really good sound. And then my Buds, those have less battery life, and so they actually died on my marathon, so that's kind of why I wanted to get something like this. I don't know what I'm gonna wear quite yet come Flying Pig time, but the sound on this is pretty unmatched. Sounds good. They're easy to control. Battery life lasts a long time. The Buds are good as well. They sound really good. The thing I like about the Beats though is that there is a transparency mode. So if I want to have noise cancellation, I can do that. But if I want to have transparency mode to where it lets in sounds from around me, whether it be wind or people running or cars that are about to hit me, I can set it to that mode, and that's a lot safer. I did try a pair of shocks because those are the most common running headphones, and they work for a lot of people. I did not like them at all. They sat weird on my ears, so it wasn't comfortable. They sounded okay, but they didn't get loud. And by design, they don't go in your ear, so they're on-ear headphones, so they kind of just sit right outside the ear canal. And again, that's the most safe option because when you're running, when you're biking, you want to be able to hear everything. I didn't like it. I like loud music if I'm in a safe environment to do so, and that's why I like the transparency mode on these. So the shocks I returned because they just didn't sound good, and I was actually having some issues with mine to where it was kind of bugging out and I was having issues, and I think that was a problem, and so I probably could have returned them and got one that worked, but I just went with what I knew, and my Beats are working great. I think that's all I got. Those are the main things I use on my runs. Happy to answer any questions. Again, everything will be linked below. Since these are being posted on Sunday, Monday timeframe, I am going to start putting the next week of training in the description so that if you are following along, you can watch the video and see the next week and follow the workouts if you want. And so hopefully that's helpful for you. But thank you for watching this video if you've made it this far. If you have made it this far, again, really appreciate it. Please subscribe, like the video, and if you are following this series and you're watching this video, comment the fist emoji below this video in my last video, and I will give you a free Fist Bump Films t-shirt if you don't already have one. Comment below, fist bump emoji. Make sure to be subscribed to my channel, like the videos, and I will give you a free shirt. Hopefully we get lots of comments. Hopefully I run out of shirts. That would be amazing. But thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.